Nobody was tougher in Russia than me. That has to do with the pipeline, as you know, Nord Stream 2 and lots of other things. But I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I'm not happy about the whole situation. You know, it's interesting. It doesn't affect us because it's not our soldiers. But they're losing now. I used to tell you 5,000. They're losing 7,000 between Ukraine and Russia, 7,000 soldiers every single week. It's such a horrible waste of humanity.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy supported his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump's decision to impose tariffs on countries engaged in trade with Russia as the ongoing war in Ukraine continues to escalate. In an interview with ABC News, Zelenskyy said that it is the right idea to put tariffs on countries that continue to make deals with Russia. The remarks from the Ukrainian leader came after the interviewer asked whether he had seen Prime Minister Narendra Modi meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping in China. The journalist went on to ask Zelenskyy if the Ukrainian leader thinks Trump's plan to impose nearly 50% tariffs on India could backfire. In response to this, the Ukrainian president called for sanctions against Russia after it launched its largest aerial assault of the Ukraine war Saturday night. He eventually came out in Trump's support. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has called for strong international action against Russia following the latest wave of attacks on Ukraine, emphasizing that words from global leaders must be matched with real consequences. In a series of posts on X, Zelenskyy stressed that sanctions, tariffs, and trade restrictions targeting Russia and individuals connected to Moscow are necessary to make the consequences of aggression clear. Their losses must be felt. That is what is truly convincing, he wrote, highlighting the need for decisive action. Zelenskyy added that the recent attacks by Russia, involving over 800 drones and 13 missiles, 4 of them ballistic, show that Moscow is testing the world, trying to see whether nations will tolerate such aggression.
Dear Ukrainians, both men and women, right now in our cities, Kiev, Sumy, and other towns and communities, people are helping those wounded after the Russian strike. The locations hit over the past day: Kiev, Sumy, Kremenchuk, Odessa, Dnipro, Kryvyi Rih, Zaporizhia. In Kiev, the rubble is still being cleared. There may be bodies beneath the debris. The Cabinet of Ministers building has been damaged. At this moment, it is known that more than 40 people have been injured across the country. 20 of them are in Kiev. My condolences to the families and loved ones of those who have died. In total, just in the capital, the air raid alert lasted for more than 7.5 hours. Kiev was one of the main targets for Russian drones. Now, once again, air raid alerts are spreading across Ukraine, and it's because of the shards. In just one night, there were more than 400 shards. The total number of drones in that strike was 810, meaning almost half were drones that the Russians used to complicate the air situation and overload air defenses. There were also missiles, including ballistic ones. A significant number of them were shot down by our defenders, and that is a substantial result. There are also results regarding the interceptor drones. Over 1,500 interceptions were made during the night. And the electronic warfare units, Army aviation, mobile fire groups, Air Force fighter pilots, and anti-aircraft gunners also performed well. Thank you all. Of course, not everything is being shot down yet, and we still need to further strengthen our air defense. This is a top priority task. The Russians are maintaining the number of shards and massive strikes at the level of 300 to 400 per attack. Our interceptors need to reach the appropriate level. This is achievable. The production potential exists. The finances and contracts are in place and are being provided. What is needed is the scaling up of the relevant units. Thank you to everyone in the Defense Forces who is carrying out this task, and thank you to everyone who is helping every volunteer, Every company developing this interceptor technology, implementing it, training crews, all of this is about saving people's lives. And it is important that today there is a broad response from our partners to this strike. It is obvious that Russia is trying to inflict pain on Ukraine, and the strikes are becoming more brazen. This is a clear sign that Putin is testing the world. Will they accept this? Will they resign themselves to it? That is why it is important that the statements of state and institutional leaders are followed by strong actions, sanctions against Russia, against individuals connected to Russia, as well as strong tariffs and other restrictions on trade with Russia. Their losses must be felt, and that is what is truly convincing, as well as our long-range capabilities. Putin does not want negotiations. He is clearly hiding from them. So, the petrol shortage in Russia and other economic troubles are a logical response to Russia's refusal to agree to a ceasefire or to meet with leaders. This week, there will be a meeting in the Ramstein format. Today, together with Ukraine's Minister of Defense, Denis Shmyhal, we discussed preparations and priorities for the negotiations at Ramstein. We are expecting new support packages. Rustem Umerov also reported today. In the coming days, we are preparing a staff meeting focused specifically on the technological aspects of our defense and our long-range actions. I spoke with the President of France, Emmanuel Macron. I thanked Emmanuel for his support and coordination, for our joint efforts to put pressure on Russia, and so that Europeans together can do more to bring this war to an end. We were also in contact with Mark Rutte today. There have already been many responses from leaders, heads of government, and heads of international organizations. Thank you to everyone. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine is informing all partners about the latest Russian escalation. We are counting on a strong response from America. That is what is needed. And one more thing. Today is the day of Ukraine's military intelligence. Thank you, lads, for your strength, for all your successful operations. I especially want to thank you for the operation in the Black Sea, which opened up maritime export corridors for Ukraine. Thank you for the vital information. Respect to our intelligence officers. And we always remember the fallen heroes. Glory to Ukraine.
Trump announced that individual European leaders will visit the United States on September 8th or 9th to discuss resolving the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Speaking after the U.S. Open, Trump also said he plans to speak with Russian President Vladimir Putin soon.
Russia had a pretty big attack on Ukraine over the weekend.
I know all about it.
You have always said how good your relationship is with President Putin, but he's not really giving you anything that you want. Is that making you less trustful of him?
Well, nobody was tougher in Russia than me. That has to do with the pipeline, as you know, Nord Stream 2 and lots of other things. But I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I'm not happy about the whole situation. You know, it's interesting. It doesn't affect us because it's not our soldiers. But they're losing now. I used to tell you 5,000. They're losing 7,000 between Ukraine and Russia, 7,000 soldiers every single week. It's such a horrible waste of humanity. So, no, I am not thrilled with what's happening there, I will tell you. I think it's going to get settled. So I settled 7 wars. This, I would have said, would have been maybe the easiest one to settle of all. But with war, you never know what you're getting. But we're going to get it, I believe we're going to get it settled. But I am not happy with them. I'm not happy with anything having to do with that war. It's just such a waste of great humanity.
Obstacle to a peace deal in Ukraine.
Say it?
As of right now, what do you think is the greatest obstacle to a peace deal?
Well, we're going to see. I mean, we have some very interesting discussions. You know, Europe, certain European leaders are coming over to our country on Monday or Tuesday, and individually. And I think we're going to get that settled. I think we're going to get it settled. We have to. You can't lose. You know, when they're losing 5,000 to 7,000 soldiers a week for no reason, you have to get it settled. Of all of the wars, whether it's the Congo and Rwanda, they said it was impossible to settle. You look at every one of, every one of these wars were impossible. I got every one of them settled, 7 of them. 7. This was the one I really thought would be the easiest, but it's not. But I think it's going to get settled.
But there was reporting in Axios that in the last 3 months of the Biden administration, they did about 4,000 pardons. The chief of staff's assistant was sending emails to pardon his own family members. Are you still interested in getting to the bottom of the auto pen scandal?
Well, I think the auto pen is one of the great scandals of our time. The auto pen was our president, or to put it a different way, whoever operated the auto pen was our president. It's not allowed. It's just not allowed. And they gave a pardon to the Unselect Committee after the Unselect Committee realized that that whole situation was a hoax and it was all their fault, including Nancy Pelosi turning down security and all, turning down soldiers. It all came out bad for them. They burned everything. They got rid of everything. There's absolutely nothing there. It's all gone. And that was based on an auto pen. They gave those members of Congress that were on the Unselect Committee, they gave them pardons.
What do you think?
So I think it's a tremendous scandal.
What do you think the media would say if you pardon your kids your last day in office via an auto pen? Don't you think the media would go
Well,
haywire?
I think it would have been a big story.
It would be a big story.
Yeah, would have been. I like this guy.